here's the next one.
It just opened up my whole world. I just came back to my friends in my neighborhood band and I said, you guys, we can write songs too. Like, we don't need to play David Bowie songs or Who songs. We can write our own songs about anything we want. That's a funny time for any kid also, because that's like, you're on this identity hunt, you know? You're trying to figure out who you are, and you're connecting with things like, I connect to that. I'm like this, you know, and then that becomes your thing. And music just does that. I mean, that's one of the things when a song gets its hooks in you, it's because you identify with whatever it is, you know?
Welcome to the first episode of the Back in the Band podcast, a show where we remember a simpler time in our lives when music and being in a band back in the day meant you could actually dream of one day living the life of a rock and roll star, which of course didn't quite happen for either myself or Lee, but it was fun while it lasted.
In each episode, with a different guest along the way, we'll be celebrating the hoodies we wore, the gigs that we saw, the songs that we learned, the money that we burned, the music we made, the dreams of getting laid, the first MP3s, the printed and ripped CDs, the strings that we snapped, and the bands that we clapped.
But for us, being in a band and discovering new music was a way of life. It was our everything. It gave us memories, stories for the rest of our life. It was our identity, and if you're listening to this, it probably was for you too. Either that or you're a friend of ours and you're on here because you're sick of us bugging you to come and check out our podcast.
So in a world where we no longer need to spend 3 days downloading 1 3-minute song on Napster whilst your mum shouts at you to get off the internet because she needs the phone line to call your nan, let's get into it.
Lee, how's it going? Are you excited to get into this and reminisce about how cool we used to be in 2001?
Yeah, not sure how cool we were, but hi. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I'm excited to be doing this, actually, my first podcast. Obviously, I've turned down loads and loads of offers before this in my dreams, but I'm interested to see how it goes. We'll see, won't we? But so just to give a bit of background about me first, Stu. So I'm Lee. I played guitar in a band in high school. I even sometimes dared to put a microphone in front of me when I was on stage, but obviously I was absolutely terrified to go anywhere near it. So that was just there for aesthetics. I never touched it once. But now the only musical career I have is that I'm a karaoke enthusiast with a lot of fond memories of when I was back in the band. But for me, doing this podcast is a chance for me and you, really, Stu, to get nostalgic for a simpler time when music was quite literally everything in our lives. And being in a band really did feel like the most exciting thing in the world when we were younger. And we wanted to hear from others about their experiences of being in a band and see if we could just have a little bit of fun in the process. But I also desperately need a new anecdote to talk about with friends that isn't about my failed burger blog from 2012 or the time I was on a TV game show. So I'm going to get a lot out of this, I think, if anything.
I think you will, mate, and I think I will too. Obviously, wasted many years being in bands. And is it wasted though? Was it wasted or was it better days of our lives? I don't know. But that's probably something that we're going to question over the course of this episode.
We'll get into that.
For anyone who doesn't know me, I was in several really bad bands from the age of about 12, 13. Through college, through uni, then started producing bands and even had the opportunity to say no to Jay-Z as a producer because I was too busy watching the football. So, yeah, it's been a big part of my life and I look forward to hearing more about it, which leads us into our first guest, doesn't it?
It does indeed. With us on the inaugural podcast is Will Ashton Smith. Hey Will, how you doing?
How we doing, gents?
Oh, good. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for the call up.
I'm just going to tell our listeners a little bit about how and why we invited you on, Will, first. So we met in a somewhat corporate setting we'll talk far less about today, a few years back now. But as ever, we got to know each other through our love of music and going to indie concerts and contributing to many styrofoam and fueled karaoke sessions together led me to find out along the line somewhere that you had what you could describe as a musical background. Would you say that's fair?
I think it's a musical background. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I've dabbled, let's say.
It's a good start. Pretty much why I invited you on. I assumed we'll go with a musical background, so we'll bring you in. So
you've heard me howl at a karaoke bar. That's what you're really saying.
To me, that's a musical background, so that's good enough. So, yeah, why don't you just start, Will, by just telling us a little bit about your musical self and what instrument or instruments did you play in your band? What age did you start?
Yeah, so my intro to music was like quite traditional, I would say, in the sense that I learnt piano growing up and I also learnt brass instruments, were pretty cool. So I played in a brass band, which was pretty rock and roll. But over the years, obviously, it became less cool to be playing in a brass band. Started to venture into more modern affairs.
Well, was a brass band ever cool? Did it ever suddenly change?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, mate. I grew up in South Wales, right? In the valleys, like anyone who's anyone plays in a brass band. And I know that you guys, you city folk, may not understand this kind of stuff, but yeah. It was the place to be, and it probably still is. But even I decided to turn my hand to more contemporary music styles, shall we say. But yeah, so I mean, created a little band at school. It was the classic setup of my best mate on drums, my brother on bass, his mate on guitar because we didn't know anyone else. It was that kind of vibe.
Obviously, the first question everyone has to know, Will, is what was the name of said band?
So the name was DV8. And we were quite cool, so we spelt it DV8, and it's pretty good. And I'd like to say that there was like a satanic undertone or something. In reality, we were trying to make up names in our form class, and our form tutor suggested it. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Isn't it like the best how it takes so long to come up with a band name, but you'll just happily just play a track and go, yeah, that's done. Shall we just learn another one now, even though we weren't very good at that one?
I remember spending hours like on the logo as well.
Yeah.
Who cared about the logo?
Right, we spent hours and hours walking back from school trying to come up with band names, and you'd be just going, how about this? How about that? We always ended up passing something on the way back from school. It would be like a cable. They were laying cable in the floor, in the ground at the time. And we'd be like, why don't we call our band NTL World? Why don't we call it Catva, which was like the symbols on this little hot, like man hole. Pathetic.
One step further from that, I don't know if you remember, Stu, one step further from that, we spent more time writing the tracks for our album, like the titles, than we did actually writing music. So it was just like, we should call our top trend tracks this and this, and we just had no songs. Like we had 2 out of about 15. It was ridiculous.
Just pathetic, but so necessary.
Feels like that might be a theme.
So tell us then, that was obviously, you made the change from brass band to, what was the genre DV8 was, would you say?
I don't know, rock-ish, indie, contemporary kind of, as I said, I grew up playing piano. I used to sing in the band, but also would play piano or keys. It's pretty cool, isn't it, to say keys? Like I was desperately trying to search anything that around at the time that had piano in it, because that was what I could add.
And where would DV8 practice? Where were your rehearsals?
Scout hut, if I'm honest. Yeah. A friend of mine was big in the Scouts. His mum had a key or something, so that was
free practice, isn't it? Practice whenever you want.
Good. Yeah, exactly. And we were on a stage playing to an empty room, which turned out to be a theme as well of the band, probably. But that's what we practiced.
So were you high school, Will? Sorry, were you high school or college at this time?
Yeah, high school.
Weren't those just the best days? The rehearsal days were so good. I absolutely loved them.
Yeah. I remember like convincing my mum to carry all this stuff around for us as well. I had big keyboard amps, and my mate convinced his mum to help him with his drum kit. It's not glamorous, but it was brilliant.
Who took the band photos?
I don't know if we had a band photo.
I asked because our band photos were taken by our bass guitarist's mum from the window of their house looking out into us in the garden from a distance, and it was just the most rock and roll thing possible. Yeah. So what was DV8's peak? What was the moment where you were like, I think this could make it?
So we did a couple of the annual charity concert at school. They used to block the morning or the day out, I can't remember, of the school, and the whole school could go to the concert, and we'd basically be one of the big names on the bill.
Were you headlining?
I think I'd like to say yes, but but no.
So that was a peak, though. What was the worst? Did you have a really bad gig where you were like, I don't think I can dedicate myself to this anymore. I can't take any more heartbreak because of that?
I think, sticking to the Scout theme, didn't think I'd say that, we were asked actually to play the annual review or something. I don't know what it was. It was an evening at the Scout hut, and we were asked to play, and I remember doing our thing, and the dude, like, the Arcala, is that the name? I don't know, the guy with
it was Arcala,
the big woggle that came over and said the guy with the big woggle came over and said, look, basically he told us to keep it down.
Oh, it just reminds me, we had school assemblies in year 11. For whatever reason, I think the teachers were bored of trying to come up with themes for assemblies by the summer. So they said, why don't you guys just, each year, like year group had an assembly on a Monday, then Tuesday was next year's year 8, Wednesday year 9. So we had a week-long bill. We were basically doing Vegas. the equivalent of Vegas in Luton.
A residential or whatever it's called.
Basically.
Exactly. And amazingly, so you'd get there and the assembly was like 9 o'clock and they'd be like, right, you can come in and set up for the assembly to start at 9. And so we'd get in at like 8:30 and the teachers would all have a meeting before the kids were allowed in school. We were like, yeah, let's do a little practice just before. And we'd been told specifically, no, you can't because we've got a meeting, we've got a big meeting. And we're like, yeah, we're mental. We'll do what we want.
It's 8:30 and we've lost our mind.
We just started, So we just started playing Dig by Mudvayne, which is just where the singer just starts talking about wrapping a noose around his neck. And in the middle of John, our drummer at the time, double pedaling the hell out of that chorus, the strictest teacher in school slammed the door into the assembly hall and told us to shut the fuck up because there's a meeting on and we told you not to play. So that was pretty rebellious. Lee was a head boy as well. He let himself down as well as the entire school.
Yeah, I mean, I was like trying to set the example. You could achieve your dreams. Look at me kind of thing, guys. And I remember, I think my brother was in year 9. Yeah, I think my brother was in year 9. So maybe the Wednesday morning about 10 past 9 a.m., I'm looking down and my brother's in the sort of back of the crowd in the assembly hall. And his mates are laughing because they're probably having such a good time thinking this is so much fun. They're having so much fun. They couldn't help but laugh at us. But Scott was like defending us. Stop laughing at them. This is very serious. And I was like so proud of my brother. Stand up for me. Cheers,
poor guy,
mate.
though.
Yeah, I know.
Poor guy.
Tough.
You had to live up to that billing to live up to. Which actually is a good question. Was it cool to be in a band at school? Did it help your social status in high school?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd say yes. Yeah, I think so. It was good. It was like a positive thing to do. People were interested. People talked about it a bit. In the small world of Chepstow School, it was a good thing to do.
Were you famous for it, though? If you were in year 9, would the year 7s be like, oh, you're the guy in that band? Did that happen?
Yeah, a little bit, I think. In parallel, I'd be doing other musical stuff around, so I was known as a guy that was likely to turn up at these sort of events in some form or other.
I know you were in DV8, but correct me if I'm wrong, you did a lot of sort of Christmas gigs and things as well, didn't you, when you were a young guy? They must have been pretty enjoyable. Tell us about those.
I remember distinctly doing one at university. That was with a friend Ollie, and that was through my wife. It wasn't my wife at the time, just a girlfriend at the time.
14.
Basically, they had she did psychology, and it was like the annual Christmas party for the Psychology Society, which is quite a good fun society. They used to do quite a lot of social events, and someone cancelled on them. So Lily that morning was like, "Can you do something?" So obviously, being the absolute legend that I am, pulled together a blinding set list with Ollie. Did Christmas songs, did kind of...
Is that how you wooed your now wife and mother of your children, do you think? Because you just...
sort of test,
probably. Yeah, I think so. I think if you'd asked, that moment was probably the moment she thought, this is the guy. When I was screaming, Merry Christmas, everyone. That was probably the moment she thought, he's a keeper.
But did she wear DV8 T-shirts? Did you have DV8 T-shirts?
Didn't have merch, unfortunately. Which now seems like could have spent more time on that and less on being any good, which we weren't anyway.
What was so you guys did original stuff, right? Did you?
Not really.
Do you remember?
We were more of no, not really. You guys are going to probably, judge me for that one. It was
Covers.
Just what the audience wanted, basically.
Go on then, what were you covering?
As I said, it was like, at the time, it was me trying to wangle anything that had a piano into it. So it was a bit of Coldplay, bit of Keane, bit of
Evanescence.
Wake me up inside. Yeah, that kind of vibe, that kind of stuff.
No.
So you've got 2 young children now. You are going to be encouraging them to be in a band and to do music? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I think I loved doing music stuff when I was younger, like in all forms, and that gets a bit of a regret that I don't do more now, to be honest. So yeah, I'll be encouraging them for sure. And I think it's important. I think you get a load of exposure to stuff like in the front of a stage, in front of loads of people, is a good test of your mettle.
Definitely. Do you think you'd have the balls to tell your kids, though, if they were crap on stage? Would you tell them after that rubbish you need to practice?
That would be tough.
If they're like, what did you think of my performance of Teen Spirit by Nirvana? And it was really crap. And you were like, yeah.
I think you got to say, yeah, it was great. Love it.
Keep going. Keep working at it. Keep trying. Keep getting better. There's always room for improvement. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
You guys both got into music younger than I did. Piano, Stu, I know you were a very young age, and we've all got kids now. What do you think is the direction you'd be pushing them to do early on? Because I'm not sure. Do you have to learn keyboard to get good at music early, or is that the easiest way in?
I think it's a good start, personally. I think it's a good start. But yeah, it's a good like baseline. I spend too much time playing a fairly niche brass instrument that isn't anything it's not something you can play on your own particularly well. So I probably wouldn't go down that route unless we move back to Wales or something.
You could be famous.
Yeah, but no, I think piano's a good start. I think maybe a bit more of a guitar. I think I'd like to play guitar. Guitars are cool, aren't they?
I think you're right about the piano thing. If you understand the theory around the piano and playing, then you could pretty much start to apply that to everything.
Yeah.
More, yeah, fine, you can do the same with the guitar, but it's just a little bit broader, isn't it? When did DV8 call it a day? When did they deviate from the plan? Stop it.
I was doing it kind of last couple of years of school, so what's that, like 15, 16-ish, maybe. Yeah, I think we probably just should have done more. I think in reality, the stuff we did was centered around school. Like it was, but we could have got out into the world a bit, I think, and seen what was going on. I think if you're willing to do it, there's plenty of stuff going on. You just need to put the effort in, and that's hard. At that age, you're not predisposed to going out and searching for gigs and finding stuff to do. You're more in the kind of, if something comes out, we'll take advantage of it.
I wonder if it's a bit easier these days with technology. Obviously, probably didn't have an easiest head start. It was a digital age somewhat, but it was pretty much hard to find those types of opportunities, wasn't it? And hard to reach out to a venue or something. You got to call them up directly and beg. But now it's got to be much easier.
15-year-old, yeah. No, I agree. With social media, you must be able to find like-minded people other than just my story, which is my best mate, my brother and his best mate, basically. Linking in with other people and must be easier now, and getting out and gigging and stuff. Yeah,
that's a good point, Stu, because we're basically just inviting people into the band of anyone who shared a remote interest. A couple of the guys were just like, we were friends, but weren't super close necessarily.
And it was also like, well, you live up the road, so that's great because you can get to practice without us needing to get my mum to pick you up.
Yeah, your mum does lifts, so that's what's up.
So you're in the band.
So towards the end of each podcast, what we're looking to do is wrap up with a podcast feature where we're calling this My Napster. So, we're all familiar with Napster. Were you a user? We don't have to be, you're not going to get arrested now, mate. Were you a user?
I couldn't possibly say, I have no idea.
Rather not disclose.
I got most of my CDs from Alex at school. Yeah, this kind of this setup, you pay him a $5 and he give you a CD of anything in the whole world.
Great guy. You got his contact, we'll get him on the next pod,
Yeah, he'd be up for it, I think.
Sounds great. So basically in this section, what we're going to ask you to do is contribute a track to a playlist, a track that meant a lot to you when you were in a band. We want to basically be there with you when you were listening to this track. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
I'm going to give you a track that we played in DV8 the band, and it was probably, I think it was the first one without a piano in it, which is pretty radical for me. So the track is By the Way by the Chili Peppers. I had a go at singing that, which on reflection seems insane to me. When I listen back to it since, he's either doing the kind of staccato or he's rapping. So the cheek of it that I had to go at it astounds me. But that was like the first kind of, and it was huge at the time, and we did a okay job at it. So I think, that's my song.
So you played the keys on it as well, or just step away from the keys and you just sang at that one?
Yeah, just sang it. Yeah, threw the keys into the crowd. Set fire to the keyboard amp
and rapped away on stage.
And apologised to the teachers and then did the rap, yeah.
And now look at you doing it at karaoke nights all over the country, wherever you go, mate. Whipping the crowd up into a frenzy. Good practice, I reckon.
Yeah. From Red Hot Chili Peppers to now Elton John, it's the same effect. Basically.
Everywhere you go. What would you be listening to these types of tracks on, Will, when you were, this sort of 15, 16 years old age?
Yeah, I think that's like kind of CD territory, I think, isn't it? I think it was...
it's on The Verge, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I seem to remember getting By the Way, the album on the CD. I had a dodgy MP3 player, little silver MP3 player thing. Yeah.
Nice. Absolutely love that album, by the way. It was so good while we're there.
Yeah, when I think about it now, we chose an old song from it. Like, it's a great song, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we thought that would be a good answer for us. But
I love it, and it's a worthy addition. So we're going to add that song to our Back in the Band playlist. So we might add a couple more from me and Stu just to make it into an actual playlist. Thanks for a great contribution. Cheers, Will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So final section on this podcast is where we're going to ask our guests about their opinion on a would you rather question. And as friends, we like to ask very tonally inappropriate would you rathers, but let's keep this one to music specifically. Well, I know you're a big fan of death metal, particularly along the lines of Cradle of Filth or Cannibal Corpse, that sort of vibe. So if you had a choice of listening to Cannibal Corpse non-stop for 7 days in a row with the headphones on while you sleep, or not listening to music for an entire year, what would you do?
That's a good question. I'm going to call a quiet one.
You have a year off. You having a year off?
A year off. Yeah, I'll try it. I'll try anything. 7 days, what, in sleep?
Yeah, just like you can try and sleep while it's on, but you have to have them on. Yeah.
I mean, the very little sleep that I get these days, if I've got a backdrop of death metal to that, I'm going to have a quiet one. I'm going to go and live in a hut.
You don't think that maybe you could get to about 3 to 4 days and just get past it?
No.
Just
no, I'm out.
Well, I highly recommend a couple of Cannibal Corpse tracks after this for you, Will, just to test you out on that, see if you could cope. But
okay, I mean, it would be a first. Either one is a first, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, I wrote the question. I didn't really want to answer it myself, so I don't really blame you either way. Both terrible options. Like, it's the whole point of it, really.
Yeah.
Wicked. Well, Will, it's been really good, mate. Good to have a chat. I'm sure there are plenty of people in your life that don't know how musical you are, and one day they'll get to enjoy this story when you tell them, look, come and check out this podcast that I was a guest on and enjoyed thoroughly on a Sunday evening recording. Appreciate you coming on, mate. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate the invite, and all the best for the rest of them.
Cheers, Will. Yeah, and if they Google us, they're more likely to find this than the burger blog, so, we're probably quit in.
So that was Will and our very first episode of the Back in the Band podcast. Lee, any thoughts?
No, I thought it was really enjoyable, actually. It was really good to hear from Will. I'm really disappointed he didn't go for the Cannibal Corpse option, but I didn't think he would, really. I did think it's real disappointing. I enjoyed that, and I'd love to hear from more people. So, it's super nostalgic, and that's what I wanted to get out of this. So, really good. Look forward to doing one more soon.
Yep, there's no doubt that he had some really great memories about practicing in the Scout Hut and all the glamorous things that come with being in a band in school that we've all experienced. So that's it for today. We'd really love for you guys to rate this 5 stars, even if you thought it was just 1 star. No problem, Lee will just buy you a beer after to say thanks. We look forward to getting going and doing a few more episodes and hearing about what it is to be in a band as a kid and how music and the technology back in the day really shaped our lives. Big shout out to Will for being on the podcast today. If you have some suggestions, please get in touch. And if you know us and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, just give us a shout because we'll probably say yes because we have no friends. Thanks for listening, guys, and here's the next one.
I failed to provide a complete portrait.